Okay, John, we got bottom of Kaf, right, Zion, and now we're going to be starting on the very top of Kafkat. Okay, okay, so that's where we're starting. Okay. Right. We saw along a discussion in regards to what relatives are invalid, and so the rest of the Gemara today is going to be some of it is repetitive, okay, and some of it is pragmatic in a sense that how did they get this answer? And we'll make a few comments as we try to go through it. But I remember we had this whole other list. Besides immediate relatives, there were other relatives. There were relatives that were married into the family. There were relatives of more than one, of a second or third generation that was considered a relative and invalid. Okay, Gemara is going to touch on that a little bit as well. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with here. Okay, um, right. So on the top of Kafchat, right, Amud Aleph, Ishkechan, right, Ashkechan. So we're defining now with other relatives, and we're looking for a source, right? So I can find, says the Gemara, Avot Lebanim. Remember we had that, Lo to Avot Abonim, Abanim Alavot. So I've found already, says the Gemara, right? And again, a quick look at Rashi. Ruvain, okay, Leben Shimon Dahainu Achei Aviv. Okay, so Avot here, okay, is basically we're talking about uh, a earlier generation, okay, right, really the founders of the Jewish people, okay. So the fact that Ruvain, Shimon, Levi, etc., are in a sense Avot, early ancestors, and they were brothers. So the Gemara is suggesting maybe from that pasuk, understanding Avot in that context, we can tell us it refers to the issue of brothers, right? Ashkechan Avot lebanim, right? Ubanim leavot. B'kol shekain Avot lahadade, and therefore all the more so if we're talking about a brother, okay, to another brother, okay? Given that example of the explanation of the term avot here. Okay? Banim lebanim. Okay? Here we're talking about banim lebanim, cousins. Okay? Minalan, on what basis? Im kain lechtov kra. Why didn't the pasuk then, we couldn't have the pasuk to read as follows? Lo yum tu avot al ben. Why did it have to say banim? Right? Okay, my banim. So why then is the pasuk that we've been citing has the phrase banim, sons? Okay, the afilu banim lahadade. Okay, even brothers, cousins together. Okay, so again, that gives us the example that if the avot, all right, the heads of the tribes were brothers. Okay, that's how we get darshan it from that pasuk. Ishkechan banim lahadade. So now on Kafchet, the fourth line. Okay. Right. So therefore, right. So that includes we just dealt brothers. Now we throw in cousins. Okay. Okay. That find that together. Banim la'alma minala. Okay. Cousins, brothers, cousins in this case. In general, how do we know this? Amar Rami Bar Chama, he says. Right? Well, we'll get to that in just a moment, okay? Let's wait till we get to the story of the brothers, okay? Right? And then we'll pick. So, Amar Rami Bar Chama, Svaraham. This is logical, Keditanya. Why? Because we have a situation, Ein ha'edim ne'esem zomamin, ad shi zomu shnehem. Okay? All right? In other words, both of the witnesses testifying against another set of individual or another set of witnesses, both of them have to be able to indicate the validity of that testimony, and in that way, okay, therefore, then we would declare it zomim. Ve'isal kedatak, and if you're going to think, banim la'alma ksherin, okay, that brothers, cousins, okay, in general would be valid witnesses. Okay, right? Nimsa ed zomem neharag be'edut achiv. Would we allow such a situation, I'm phrasing it, that one testifying, okay, invalidating witness would therefore be put to death, okay, regarding his brethren? Okay, Art Scroll, by the way, on number 7, note number 7, okay, on 28A1, okay, goes into a little more detail on that. Yes, Michael, go ahead.
I think you're confusing this a bit. If I can testify with my brother against Marty to put him to death, and then two other people come and say, we weren't there, we were in Pittsburgh. So what, since if you challenge one of the cops, the testimony is thrown out, nobody is voted.
Right.
So
Well, that's right.
therefore, it's the existence of my brother in the cot that renders me subject to the death penalty. So it's as if he's, quote, testifying to put me to death, unquote, even though he's not saying a word. That's the theory.
Okay, I would have phrased it a little differently. Okay, that when you have the second set of witnesses challenging, okay,
No, it's two independent people challenge. But because
well,
if in
I
theory
didn't say,
brothers could be a cot,
well, wait, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm rephrasing it. You have a second set of witnesses that are challenging somebody in the first set. The question is, there need to be two separate people to be able to do that challenge. If they're two brothers, then it's problematic.
it's saying the two brothers who were the Zoyman guys. You
That's what
can't
I'm
kill
saying.
either one.
That's the
unless
second.
you-
That's the second set of
Okay,
witnesses. That's the second
No,
set of
that's the
witnesses.
first step.
Zomem neharag be'edut achi. Amarle. So he would say to him, Rabba, according to Rabba, ulata'amech, and according to your line of reasoning, haditznan, what about a situation where we have the case as follows, where we're dealing with testimony in regards to a chazaka, okay? And we have a total of 4 individuals, 3 of whom are brothers, okay? And each of the 3 brothers, okay, could testify in behalf of the chazaka for 1 year, and then the 4th person would join with each one of them, okay, in order to give the appropriate 2-person witness testimony that's needed, okay? So the 4th person, number 4, joins with brother number 1, the oldest brother, then joins second for brother number 2, the middle brother, and brother number 3, the third younger brother. Okay? So in that kind of a situation, okay, right, so what happens? Ve'echad mitztarefim mehen, we said the 4th person is joining with them. Hare elu shlosha eduyot, we consider those 3 separate testimonies, vehen edut echad lahazama, but they are really only considered a single testimony in order to challenge, to throw it out. Okay? Right? In that case. Nimtza ed zomein mishalem mamon be'edut achiv. In that situation, we would indicate that a ed zomein, the person who was challenged in their testimony, would have to pay the entire situation, be'edut achiv, based on the fact of his testimony vis-a-vis his brothers. Okay? Ella, rather, hazama ma'alma ka'ati. But here we have, says the Gemara, Hazama in general. Okay. Okay. And so what happens? Hachanami hazama me'alma ka'ate. Here too, we would have really a general example of hazama, okay, in that particular case. Okay. So what happens? Okay, I'm trying to get back to the Zoom. Okay. Right? Ella imkain. So if that's the case, again we have to deal with our pasuk. All right, what is it? Lichtov kra uben al avot. Okay, so again it should have been changing the language of the pasuk, a son or a relative on the fathers. Inami, or if possible, haim al havot, or they on the avot. Right? My, right? Umay ubanim. So what then do we mean by, again, that our pasuk said, avot al banim, banim al avot, afilu banim la alma, even banim, cousins and relatives in general. Now, once more, the Gemara is going to. They can't testify together and can't be zomim together. Ishkachan krovei ha'av. So we found so far that we have an example of relatives connected to the father. Krovei ha'aim minalan. Relatives connected through the mother. Okay, on what basis can we say this? Amar kra. We have a pasuk again. It said avot avot trezimne. Okay, since the pasuk referred to avot twice, and certainly avot the first time is enough to refer to relatives of the father. Okay, so the second time must refer to other progenitors, so to speak, other ancestors, and that would be for the mother. Okay, im eno inyan lekrovei ha'av. If it can't be regarding the relatives of the father, since we've said that avot the first time, tanehu inyan lekrovei ha'em. Teach it then to apply to the issue of relatives of the mother. Okay, once again. Okay, we're now going to go on. So the Gemara says now, okay, just a second. Yeah, no, I have a note here that I wanted to. Okay, so the Mishnah now, the Gemara says, Ishkechan lechova. Okay, so I have now determined, says the Gemara, that I find that this is in regards to the detriment of a person. Lizakot, in other words, to benefit a person about testifying. Maybe you could say, oh, okay, I can't, when I say that a relative can't testify, it applies to something bad for them, their detriment. Right, but
maybe
okay.
they can testify.
Well, death is certainly a detriment. Okay, so what happens? Okay, so what happens here? But maybe I might say, well, but if it's a situation of benefit, it would be all right to let a relative testify. Okay, lezechut minalam. He says amar kra. Again, I have a pasuk. Yum tu trei zimne. Again, the same double language. Okay? Im eno inyan lechova. We say if therefore it doesn't deal with the example, if we've already applied one use of the term for detriment, death in this case, tinehu inyan lezechut, then teach the other use of the same term regarding prohibiting a relative to testify in situations of benefit. Fine, says the Gemara. Well, I'm going on. Ishkechan b'dinei nefashot. I found this now as a valid explanation because we had dafka, the words, right? Yumatu, death penalty. That may apply to situations of capital cases. Maybe I'm going to say, hold on a second. I'll let relatives testify in monetary cases, but only preclude them from testifying in capital cases, right? B'dinei memonot minalan. How do we know that there too we're going to say that relatives can't testify. Amarkra, again, I have another pasuk. Mishpat echad yeh lachem. That there should be, I'm going to phrase it, the same kind of justice. Right, the same kind of procedures of the rules for one variety of adjudication as for another variety of adjudication. Okay? Mishpat hashaveh lachem. Okay, justice, adjudication that should be applicable to each of it. Amar Rav, says Rav, Achi Abba lo ya'id li. Okay, the brother of my father, in other words, my, let's call him for the moment, paternal uncle, cannot testify with me. Who? Ubano v'chatano. Not only the paternal uncle can't testify, but his son, namely my cousin on that side, and his son-in-law also. Okay? So why? We're going to get to that eventually. But remember, the Gemara has a concept here that when one marries, it's as if the husband and wife are a single unit. Okay? So what happens? Af ani lo a'id lo. And so I cannot testify regarding him. Ani ubani v'chatani v'amai, asks the Gemara. Okay, if I say I and my son-in-law, okay, so wait a second. Regarding my son testifying, let's say, in a case for his, for my father's brother or whatever, okay, in that case, we've got a separation here of a third level coming to testify about a first level. Is that the case? Va'amai, why is that? Havale shlishi barishon. Just as I said, that's a situation of third level relative testifying regarding first level. Va'anan, but we, sheni b'sheni tnan. But we learned it, okay, that it was second level testifying regarding second level. Sheni barishon tnan. Or second regarding first level we learned. Shlishi barishon lo tanan. But a third level relative to a first level relative, we did not learn that from the Mishnah. Right? Mai chatano, okay, and not only that, but given what Rava said, he said the son-in-law, that's the one who married into that family. Well, he's not a blood relative per se, okay? But why do we say that even he can't testify in those situations? Velitne, so let us teach it. Ben beno, milta, agav, orche kamashmala. Okay, that the son of his son is something that, in general, we say can't be done. The baal ki ishto. Right. Right. So, we'll get to that language in the Gemara shortly. Okay, but the Gemara simply tells us here, the baal ki ishto. Okay, that the fact that son-in-law married into that family, okay, he and the wife become a single unit, and therefore in that situation, okay, he is considered the same status as a blood relative, because he married a blood relative in that direct line. Okay, ve'ela, but rather, hadatani Rabbi Chia. But what about what Rabbi Chia taught? Namely, he said, Shmona Avot, okay, 8 ancestors, Shehein Esrim Va'arba'a, that result in 24 individuals, right, that are not acceptable for testimony. Hani, but here in that case, Slatin V'tartain Have, there would be instead, what, 33, right? Ele le'olam chatano mamash. But rather we're talking about his son-in-law directly. Va'amai kari le chatan beno. So why then was he given in that statement the son-in-law of his son? In other words, what's the parallel? Kevan de ma'alma, he comes from outside, kate, okay? Kedor acher nadami. Okay, isn't he like a different generation? Okay, so even though he comes from outside, okay, we still want to attach him as into that generational order. Ihachi havale shlishi b'sheni. If that's the case, we would have a situation of a third level relative testifying regarding a second level relative. V'Rav achsher shlishi b'sheni. And Rav permitted, he validated a third generation relative to testify regarding a second. Ela Rav Amar Rebbe Elazar, but rather Rav said similar to Rebbe Elazar, Tanya, who taught Rebbe Elazar says, Geshem she'achi Abba lo ya'ili, the same way that the brother of my father, my paternal uncle, cannot testify regarding me. Hu ubano v'chatano, he and his son and his son-in-law. Kach ben achi Abba. So likewise, the son of the brother of my father, in other words, my paternal cousin, right? And that's a first cousin. Lo ya'id li. Okay, he will not testify me again with regarding who him, ubano his son, v'chatano and his son-in-law.
First cousins once.
Mm-hmm. So what happens? Okay, so the Gemara continues, va'akati have le shlishi b'sheni. But I still then have a situation of third level relative testifying regarding the second level. And we saw that there was somebody who permitted it. Okay? V'Rav achsher shlishi b'sheni, again. And Rav did permit a third level relative to testify towards a second. Rav savarle kivate bechada upalegale bechada. No, what actually was that Rav agreed with Rabbi Elazar in one case, but disagreed with him in another case. My tamada Rav. What then was Rav's logic, line of thinking? What was his reasoning? The Amar Kra, because the pasuk says, "Lo yumatu avot abanim, ba'ubanim lerabot dor acher," and where it said the male relatives, that included the newer generation, the one who is coming into that family history, namely the son-in-law. Okay. The Rebbe Elazar. Okay. The Rebbe Elazar. Al-Banim Amar, and in that situation, how did Rabbi Elazar darshan it, right? Rachamana, Psule Da'avot, right? Shadei Avanim, okay? Okay, that according to the Torah, he nullified and validated, okay, the ancestors, Avanim. Amar Rav Nachman, Achi Chamoti Lo Ya'idli. So in response to that, okay, Rav Nachman says the mother-in-law's brother, okay, according to our what happens, will not testify. Lo Ya'idli. Ben Achi Chamoti Lo Ya'idli. The son of the brother of my mother-in-law, Lo Ya'idli, cannot give testimony. Ben, the son, Achot Chamati Lo Ya'idli, the son of the sister of my mother-in-law, cannot testify me. V'Tana Tuna, and our Tana taught the following: Baal Achoto, okay, the husband of his sister. Ubaal Achot Aviv, and the husband of the sister of his father. Ubal Achot Imo, and the husband of the sister of his mother. Hain, they, Ubneihen, and their sons, Vechatneihen, and their sons-in-law. Okay? Now, what happens? Amar Ravashi, says Ravashi, Ki Havinen Be'ula. When we discussed this and had a question about it, when we were in the house of Ula, Ibayelan, okay, it was asked there, Achi Chamav Mahu, the brother of his father-in-law. What about that guy? Ben achi chamav mahu, or the son of the brother of his father-in-law. What about him? Ben achot chamav, the son of the sister of his father-in-law. Okay, what about that person? Okay, Amar lan, and he told us, right? Tini tuha, we learned this. Achiv, his brother, va'achi achiv, and the brother of his father, va'achi imo, and the brother of his sister. Hein, they, uvnehen, and their sons, plural, v'chatnehen, and their sons-in-law. Okay, Rav Ikla, okay, all of them are prohibited to testify. Now we go on. Okay, so we saw that when the rabbis gathered in the house of Ula, okay, they had further questions about other family members. But that isn't the only place the Gemara is going to tell us where these kinds of questions came up. Okay, as we either way, right? Either way, that we saw a little earlier in the Gemara for detriment or benefit. Right?
And we make the same rules for witnesses as judges.
Right, that's true too.
So your great uncle can't be on the bench.
So what happens in a moment as we continue in the Gemara? Okay, what happens? Isha keba'ala, as we had before, right? Da Amar Rav Huna, as Rav Huna said, Amar Rav Nachman, in the name of Rav Nachman, Minayan Shahisha keba'ala. How do we know? And what's the basis that we consider the husband and wife a single unit? Okay? Dichtiv, why? Because it says, Ervat achi avich lo tigale el ishto lo tikra v'dodatcha hi. Okay, from the Arias section, right? Okay, so that's the whole point. V'halo isha eshet dodohi, but isn't she the wife of his uncle? And not really directly his. If she married into the family, she's not a blood aunt, so to speak. You pardon the expression, okay? Right. So why is that the case? Miklal de isha keba'ala, because we say what, that they become a single unit. Okay. Going on now. Ubal imo, the husband of his mother. who he ubano and his son v'chatano and his son-in-law. So this could be his stepfather, right? Okay, and it could be, well, we're going to get into that in more detail, right? Because we're going to get a situation where we have multiple family ties here. Okay, Art Scroll, by the way, has, if you have Art Scroll, notice that it has diagrams in each of a number of these relationships. Right? Uh-huh. Okay, so we, but no, Hainu Achiv, but that son, okay, of the wife's husband, isn't that his brother, says the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, says Rabbi Yirmiyah, Lo nitzracha, we didn't need this, tell us this. Ele la'achi ha'ach, because we're talking about the brother of the brother, okay? So in other words, from the stepfather's son had a brother from a different mother, okay? From the first wife, let's say, in that situation. Rav Chisda, achsher ba'achi ha'ach. And Rav Chisda would validate testimony from the brother of the brother. Amrule lo shami'alach. Didn't you hear about or learn, the Rabbi Yirmiyah, the view of Rabbi Yirmiyah? Amarlo, he answered him, okay, lo shami'ali, I didn't hear it, meaning I didn't learn that. Okay? Klomar, lo sevirale, implying really that he didn't hold by that particular view. Ihachi hainu achi. If that's the case, isn't that his brother? Tana achiv min ha'av. We learned in a Braita that the brother from the father, ukatani achiv min ha'em. And we learned also that his brother through his mother. Amar Rav Chisda, and Rav Chisda says, Avi chatan va'avi kala. Right? The father of the groom, I'm going to translate it here. Okay? Va'avi kala, and the father of the bride. So those are his mechutanim, right? Mi'idim ze al ze, velo dame lahadade. Okay, they may testify, and they are not compared. They're not the same. Okay? Right? So that's the case, right? All right. So what happens? Ella ki achla ladina. Okay, but when that's more like the Gemara's language, an ill-fitting cover to be put on a barrel, right? Amar Rava. In other words, it's not really a real part of the family, right? They're not part, they're extended family, and that's extended enough so that there's a relationship, but it's not per se a blood tie relationship. Okay? Amar Rava Bar Chana as follows: Me'id Adam le'ishto arusa. Okay, according to Rabba Bar Chana, okay, a person can testify regarding his betrothal. Okay, Amar Ravina, says Ravina, Lo Amran Ela La'afuke Mine. We only said that in a situation where he's able to take will take a that where if there's money involved and you can remove the money. Okay, aval I don't know. Aval ulule lo meheman. But in order to obtain money for her, that he cannot. We don't accept his testimony. Okay, right? So what happens? Velohi. But the Gemara says, no, that's not the case. Lo shana la'afuke, velo shana le'ulule, lo mahaman. No, there is no difference whether he's going to remove money, okay, not give it, or obtain money for her. He is not to be believed. That's the point. My datech. Okay, so the Gemara asks, what about the view Keda'amar Rabbi Chia bar Ami. Okay. What about the view of Rabbi Chia bar Ami? Mishmei Ula. Okay, in regards to Ula, Ishto Arusa, vis-a-vis his betrothed. Okay. Lo onen velo mitamela. Okay, if she dies, he does not become an immediate mourner. Okay, and if he's a Kohen, he does not become Tameh. And that's the case. Okay, the same way, if he dies during that engagement or betrothal, lo onenet, she does not become an immediate mourner. Velo mitamah, nor would she become ritually impure. Lo, okay, meta, if he was to die, okay, Eino Yarsha, she does not inherit him. Mate who? Govak to Bata. If he dies, okay, she may collect on the Ketubah. Hatam b'she'ero tala rachmana. Okay, there, okay, on what was the remain, what was left, okay, is what the Torah permitted. Akati lo she'ero he. Okay, but it's not what she may gain. Okay, hacha mishum ikruve da'atahu. Are we saying then because there was this closeness of I want to say mental connection, emotional connection?
Well, it's a real bond.
Right. Yeah, I'm saying.
It's
And
not
others,
an emotional
right.
connection.
Well, there was there. Okay, let's phrase it differently. We'll say that because there was a engagement here, there was a sense of strong relationship. Okay, in this situation, Vaha ikrav da'ate legaba, and he had a close bond with her as well. Okay. Right. So we go now back to again specific individual. Okay. She's not really his wife. She's not a. So they do not. So the implication of the Gemara I'm going to suggest is since we saw earlier that it said he and his wife are like one unit, that's once they're married, but not in a situation of betrothal. Okay. All right. Let's go on from there. Chargo levado. Okay, what about his stepson? All right, there his. All right, so here's the case. Tana Rabbanan, Chargo levado. Okay, the stepson alone is the situation. Rabbi Yossi says as follows: Giso, his brother-in-law, Vatanya Idach, and the other teaches Giso levado, and the other Tana taught no, it was his brother-in-law Isep. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Chargo, Rabbi Yehuda, who said that his stepson was a different situation. Ma'ika Amar, what is he trying to tell us? Ilema Hachi Kamar, if this is what he's trying to tell us. Chargo Levado, that the stepson is in a sense unique in being able to testify. Vahu Adin Legiso, then this would seem to apply as well to his brother-in-law. Okay. We'll see. Va'ata Rabbi Yossi lemema, and then Rabbi Yossi comes to tell us, Giso levado, that the brother-in-law is unique. Vahu hadin lechargo, and that same applies to the stepson. Elab matniden, but our Mishnah, the Katani comes to teach us, Giso who, that the brother-in-law is considered, in a sense, a family member, right? Ubeno v'chatano, and his son and his son-in-law. Mani, according to whom is that? Lo Rabbi Yehuda, below Rabbi Yossi. It's neither then according to Rabbi Yehuda nor Rabbi Yossi. Right? Right? Ve'ela, but rather, hachi kamar. This is what they're telling us. Chorgo levado, the stepson is unique. Aval gisohu ubeno v'chatano. But it's the brother-in-law and his son-in-law, okay, they would be prohibited. Va'ata Rabbi Yossi, and therefore Rabbi Yossi comes Lamemar to tell us, Giso levado. No, it's the brother-in-law who's unique. Okay, but aval chorgo who, okay, but his stepson, okay, is ubeno v'chatano, okay, his stepson and his son-in-law, okay, would be prohibited to testify. Ve'ela, but rather, hadatani Rabbi Chia. Okay, but we have an example where Rabbi Chia taught Shmona Avot Shehen Esrim Va'arba. Come on, where he taught that there were 8 ancestors, okay, and that turn became 24 individuals, is who according to whom? Again, lo Rabbi Yossi, velo Rabbi Yehuda. It's neither according to Rabbi Yossi nor according to Rabbi Yehuda. Elahachi kamar. But this is what is saying. Chorgo levado. The stepson is unique. Aval giso, but regarding the brother-in-law, he who, ubeno v'chatano, he and his son-in-law, okay, would be prohibited from testifying. Va'ata Rabbi Yossi lememar, and Rabbi Yossi comes to tell us, giso levado, that it was the brother-in-law who is unique. Okay, v'kol shekain chorgo, and how much more so than the
What do
stepson.
you mean by unique?
What do I mean? Okay, that indicating that that person could testify.
No, that it stops with it. In other words, the son, the stepson, or the stepbrother, whoever you want, he can't. But his children or sons-in-law can. Lavado, in this case, that means it stops with them. They alone are restricted.
Those that are included in that list are prohibited. Okay, so the question is, he is.
Does it stop with him, or does it extend to his children?
It certainly doesn't extend to his children. The question is about him.
He is always excluded. Both Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi agree that whoever they are talking about, they're each talking about somebody else. That individual is the last of the restricted line. And beyond them,
I will go back and look at
can
that.
test.
That's not how I understood. Umatnitin Rabbi Yehuda, okay, and our Mishnah teaches Rabbi Yehuda, Braita Rabbi Yossi, and the Braita, however, is the lashon of Rabbi Yossi. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. He says in the name of Shmuel, Rabbi Yehuda, Halacha ka Rabbi Yossi. The law is like Rabbi Yossi. Okay, and what happens? Now another case. That's with a story. Hahi matanta. There were
Mishnah versus Baraita.
Yeah.
So how come they come down in favor of the Baraita?
That's the question. That's a good
We
question.
always ask Mike.
Okay, it could be in this Rabbi Yehuda versus Rabbi Yossi. Could be we all paskin like Rabbi Yossi, but there could be more to it than simply that. Okay. All right. So we have now a gift document, right? The Have Chatime ala Tre Gise, and written on that document were 2 brothers-in-law. They were the husbands of 2 sisters. Savar Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef was of the opinion. Okay. Okay, Rav Yossi was of the opinion. La'achshura, to validate it. Da Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, as said by Rav Yehuda in the name of Shmuel, Halachaka Rabbi Yossi, that the law would be according to Rabbi Yossi. Amar le Abai, however, Abai questions, Mimai de Rabbi Yossi de matnitin de machshir begiso. How is it possible, I'm saying, that Abai is asking, that Rabbi Yossi, based on our Mishnah, what our Mishnah is saying, would validate something in regarding the brother-in-law? Dilma Rabbi Yossi de Braita. Maybe we're talking about, no, Rabbi Yossi in terms of the Braita's language. Okay? De Pasil Begiso, who invalidates the brother-in-law. Lo Salkadatach, the Amar Shmuel, isn't it possible, or don't even think about it, that Shmuel says Kigon in this situation, Ana u Pinchas, I and Pinchas, who happen to be Shmuel's brother, the Havinen Achi V'Gisi, okay, that we happen to be my brother and my brother-in-law, okay? In other words, Shmuel and his brother Pinchas married sisters, okay? So that was an actual case, okay? Aval Gisi da Alma Shapir Dami, but my brother-in-law in general, okay, is more than that or better than that. Vadilma, and perhaps Kigon Ana Upinchas, Mishum de Giso Ka'amar. Or perhaps we're saying that in the example of I and Pinchas, my brother and brother-in-law, because of his status as my brother-in-law, we're talking about. Amarle, and he said to him, Zil Kane Ba'ede Mesira. Okay, so he told him in that situation, in order to prove the validity of the gift document, go and arrange it through those who were the witnesses of the delivery of the document. And don't pay attention to who the signatories were. Okay? Rabbi Elazar, like the view of Rabbi Elazar. Okay? V'hamar Rabbi Abba. But didn't Rabbi Abba say as follows? Modeh Rabbi Elazar, b'mizuyaf mitocho shehu pasul. That it's Rabbi Elazar who acknowledged the fact that there could be a counterfeit situation from inside the document, rendering it invalid. Okay. Right. Let's see how do we know that these are appropriate? Amarle, zil lo. Okay, go no. Shav keli. Okay, leave it. The odvine lach. Okay, that I will arrange it with you. Right. Okay, so what happens? I can't give you what I can't give the person who has the document. I can't guarantee and give them the amount, the gift, things like that. Okay. Now, what happens? All right. Okay. So, given the next piece of the Gemara, okay, as we begin to finish up, Rabbi Yehuda says as follows: Amar Rabbi Tanchum, Amar Rav Tavla, Amar Rav Bruna, Amar Rav. Okay. Halacha ke Rabbi Yehuda. The law is like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabba Amar, says Rabba. Rav Nachman says, Ein halacha ke Rabbi Yehuda. The law is not like Rabbi Yehuda. V'chein amar Rabba bar Bar Chana. And similarly was said that the law was not like Rabbi Yehuda by Rabba bar Bar Chana. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. And Rabbi Yochanan says, Ein halacha ke Rabbi Yehuda. So you have number of Rabbeim, generations. Some say the law is like Rabbi Yehuda. Others disagree and say the law is not like Rabbi Yehuda. Okay? All right, so now what are we dealing with? We're going to deal with the death of the wife's son-in-law. Is he considered a relative? Okay? Ikedamatne laha. Okay? There are those who taught it, similar to that view of the Rabba bar Bar Chana. Okay? Aha, but regarding this, at Zoda Rash Rabbi Yossi Galili, but this is what Rabbi Yossi Galili darshan, Uvata el HaKohanim HaLevi'im. It says the pasuk, you come to the Kohanim Levi'im, ve'el HaShofet asher yiheh biyamim hahem, and to the judge of those days. V'chi ta'aleh al da'atcha, she'adam holech etzel shofet shelo haya b'yamav. Is a person going to go to some judge not from his contemporary time? Okay, all right, but we won't get into this discussion now, but it's a valid question in terms of other elements of paskening, by the way. Ella, zeh shehaya karov v'nitrachek. But we're talking about somebody who at a certain time was considered a relative, but then may have been divorced. Okay, from that. Okay, or the spouse died. That's another option, right? Okay, I didn't want to go that far. Okay, but in either case, it's enough. And now that person is no longer a relative. Okay, that's what happens. Amar Rava says Bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Halacha ka Rabbi Yossi Haglili. The law is like Rabbi Yossi Haglili. And that's where we're going to stop right there. Exactly.
All my life I've been learning. I don't understand. An aide son said, if he says I was in Philadelphia, and they prove he's in Pittsburgh. What is the location?
Yeah.
So why didn't he explain that so I know what he's talking about? I'm talking about this Pittsburgh, and he's talking about black. So wait a minute. So you take coffee, Mordecai, you take coffee and no. I asked for coffee too. They didn't pay the $25, so you're not no gay other. Good text.
Okay, gentlemen. Okay, morning's just want to pass on JNS, Jewish News Service, indicates that Hamas signals acceptance of draft ceasefire agreement. Israel is reportedly finalizing the details. I don't know. I don't know. When they start releasing them, that's when I'll be. However, I was told by Harriet that the doctors decided they wanted to do more tests this week, and they're pushing it off till this coming Monday. Monday. No, on Friday, he's going to remove the stitches from this one and do another one on this side of it. No, I don't think grass, we always say grass never grows in a busy street. So long as we use, as we exercise our brain through Gemara study, Avrami, separate. You know that Eddie and Terry were going to Israel. They may have left yesterday. They, I don't know. All I heard, yeah, what Ruth Blazinski told Karen that Ruth heard from her daughter, who lives in the same neighborhood as their daughter, that they're coming to stay with her. Yeah, and he said he's going to stay with her. Yeah, so she can help take care. But then daughter told Ruth, but when you come to visit us at Pesach time, don't expect to see. He's in the hospital.
That's not problem. He's on a cruise.
Oh,
It could be, you're right. All I know is
Again, you don't.
well, he's just kidding. Whoa. Well, if they agreed to the entire arrangement, then they've got to play. Exactly. Although, and I heard this morning, Karen had the news on that Israel has agreed, but they have stipulated which which quote terrorists they will release, and they will not release Barghouti.
they won't get the, don't get what he calls phones either. What's his name? Hamas leader?
Oh, I don't know. Sinwar?
Sybil, yeah.
That I don't. I'll have to more later. All right, Dad? Good morning. How are you? Good
Morning, Rabbi.
morning. Usually, yeah. Mm. Where- oh, okay. Do it. So, we'll see what happens.
You see what's happening? Getting later.
The questions, are they going to read? Are they going to probably need a meeting once. Morning. Okay. Just wanted to double check you that
Oh, everything's okay.
is yeah. You and then sometime
weekend. Whatever else. The other stuff would be items from the. How you doing? Okay. I couldn't continue. Or-